Hello all, welcome to my YouTube channel. So in today's video we are going to discuss how we can deploy ASP.NET Core application to Azure Web App. In Azure Web App we are going to use Azure Container App basically. So let me quickly give you an overview what we are going to achieve as part of this video. So basically we are going to deploy our code to Azure Web App, Azure Container App, and we are just retrieving the value of secret which we have passed in our application code. So here basically I have already created an application which I have pushed in Azure repos, and with the help of Azure DevOps we built a pipeline. I'm just pushing that code to the Azure Container Registry with the help of Docker file, and then I'm gonna create Azure Web App, and with the help of Azure Managed Identities I'm gonna use or I'm gonna retrieve the secret from the Key Vault. This is what we are going to achieve this in this particular video. If you, I'm not sure if you have seen my last videos where basically this is a similar concept I have used in my previous videos, but that was for the local development. Everything I have done on Visual Studio. So if you are developer or if you want to know how we can do if we are doing a local development, then I will put the link in my description box. So if you can go and watch it my previous videos, that will give you a so much idea while we are doing the automation. So this is not a complete automation which I am going to do. If you, I would say the automation part till ACR, the pipeline part, and Azure Web App I'm going to create manually, because I just want to show you what all the configuration you need to make and what all the errors you will face while doing this kind of deployment. That's what I have not created any kind of automated pipeline which do CI and CD part. So this is CI part is automated and CD part will be manual. So let me go back to my Azure repos here. So this is the application. This is a sample Azure ASP.NET Core Web application which I have created. I will come to Azure pipeline.ml file little later, because before that we need to understand what all the code changes we required while we are retrieving any kind of secrets. It could be a connection string or anything that is required for parameterize or to set up an environment variable in your application code, because this particular application you can deploy in any environment. You just have to set up an environment variable whatever or wherever you are going to deploy. It could be Azure Web App, it could be AKS. You have to create an environment variable and you have to give the permissions, and your deployment will be successful. This is very basic application which I have taken for a demo purpose. So you can let me open my program.cs file. So here if you can see, I am using these two libraries for Azure Identities and Azure Key Vault Secret. These are the two libraries or NuGet packages which I have installed in my application code. And here what I am going to do, I'm just, if you can see, this is the string I'm creating Key Vault name. So basically here, if you can see this particular part, string Key Vault URL, I have created some kind of variable here, Key Vault name. And if you can see this Key Vault name I have passed here. So what I'm going to do, while we create a Docker image of this particular application code, and as soon as your Docker image will run on any platform, it could be AKS or application, Azure Web App, it will automatically fetch the environment variable value. So if you can see here, I am going to do here Azure string Key Vault. Like in PowerShell we generally store variable values, so similar kind of concept you can assume here as well. So here I am just storing the value of Key Vault name. This is the Azure Key Vault name which I am going to store in this particular variable, and this variable I have passed in the URL of Azure Key Vault, because whenever you create a Azure Key Vault URL, you can see the last things and first thing HTTPS will be similar and this part will be similar. The only changes will happen the name of the your key vault. So I'm just sorry, I'm just fetching the name from this particular environment variable, and I'm passing it here. So this particular URL will be complete while we run our Docker image. And one more thing, in this particular demo, I'm just retrieving the secret value. Whatever secrets we have created in this particular key vault, uh, that value I'm gonna fetch as part of this demo. So to fetch value, you can see here, again I have created an environment variable where I'm fetching the value, or sorry, key name of the secret, which we will specify as an environment variable. The name, you have to keep in mind, whatever the environment variable name you are passing here, the same name you have to create. It could be AKS or it will be Azure Web App. In this particular demo is Azure Web App. So these the same name you have to pass uh, as an environment variable. And similarly, what I'm going to do, this is the secret name, the string I'm creating here, the environment values I'm fetching here, and the if and the loop I have created, if string dot is null or empty secret name, then it will show the return environment name not found in the environment variable. Else I have put it here try and catch loop. If it found the value, it will give us a result. If not found, it will give us some exception that we will see in a live demo. But you have to keep in mind that whatever the value of environment variable you are passing in your application code, with the same name, or you have to create environment variable wherever you are creating those environment variables. It could be your Azure DevOps pipeline, it could be your Azure Web App, or it could be your Azure Kubernetes services. So you have to keep in mind the name should not be different, otherwise it will not work. And let me go to Docker file as well. So this is very simple Docker file. We are not going to do anything as part of Docker file. We are just creating the image of this particular application, and we are just pushing this image to the Docker. And while doing a deployment on Azure Web App, we are replacing the value of environment variables which we have created. You have another choice. If you want, during the build also, if you want to replace the value, you can do that also. You have to pass some kind of argument and environment variable you have to set up in your Docker file. That will also work. But think about this particular application or this particular image you are going to use from dev environment to production environment, then you cannot replace the value at build phase. Always you want, in whatever environment you are going to deploy this particular image, during the deployment the value will be replaced. So this is the one option which you can use, that is environment variables, which you can create as part of your deployment application, like it could be Azure Web App or AKS. So in this case, we are going to replace the values as part of the deployment, and here we are going to use Azure Web App. So this is the simple, we are just using the sample what is called base image of ASP.NET Core 6, because we have developed this application as part of .NET Framework. If you are using .NET Framework 8 or something else, you have to choose the image accordingly. And we are just copying the CS project file and other files whatever required. This is the very basic Docker image file, so I'm not going to explain this Docker image file as part of this video. If you have any issues, or if you feel any uncomfort while understanding this particular Docker image, just ping me on comment. I will reply as soon as possible. Let me go to Azure pipeline.yml file. So here you can see very simple pipeline I have created here. So the very first is build and push. So I'm just building my image and I'm just pushing the image to ACR. If you can see the container registry here, the service connection which I have created as part of my Azure DevOps. So let me just show you. So if I'll go to a service connection, this is the ACR service connection which I have created. So the same name I have passed it here, and the repository name, whatever you want, you can pass it here, and the Docker file path I have passed it here. So this is very basic, which I am gonna explain here. So the main part of this particular video is the program.cs file where we have passed like how we are retrieving the environment variable values and how we are going to replace these values during deployment. So now let me quickly go to my pipeline and I will, this is the application. Let me quickly run my pipeline here. So as soon as pipeline will run, it will push the image to the Azure Container Registries. Let me open my Azure portal. So I have already created a Azure Container Registry because I have already shown these things in my previous videos. So if I'll go to my container registry, this is the Azure Container Registry which I have created. You can automate everything, but just for the demo or understanding purpose, the deployment part I am doing manually, because I just want to show you how you can utilize the manage identities while doing a deployment. So let me go to repository here. So you can see I don't have any repositories. Let's complete this build pipeline. Okay, so build and push Docker is successful. Let me quickly refresh. You can see the repository in my hyphen app. If I'll go back to my pipeline here, let me quickly edit it. So you can see the repository now I have passed it my hyphen app. If you want any other name, you can definitely pass it. And the tag I'm using build ID tag. So let me go to my repository here. You can see the tag is 859. Now what I'm going to do, let me go to my Azure portal back, and you can see that in manage identities I have already created a manage identity demo hyphen user assigned manage identities, because here you cannot create a system assigned manage identities. That is basically specific to the particular resources which you are going to create. So always you have to create a user assigned manage identities whenever you want to use identity which you can manage. So this is the identities which I have already created, and this particular identity doesn't have access on Azure Container Registries. So you have to keep in mind while you are running your Azure DevOps pipeline and you are pushing the image to the Azure Container Registries, your Azure Container Registry should have ACR push access. Whatever the service principal you have used while doing a service connection from Azure DevOps to Azure portal, that particular service connection should have access to the ACR. Then only you can push the image to the ACR. So in my case, let me quickly show you, it's loading. So you can see learn Azure 162002. This is my the organization code, and the source code is my the app project name. If you can see, the project name is source code. So from this particular name I have created a service principal. So this service principal I have assigned the permission to ACR post. If you will not assign this particular service principal access to this ACR, you cannot push image to the Azure Container Registry. Now let me go back to my Azure container. So first thing, you have to create manage identities, then you have to create Azure's container registries, and then you have to create a service connection from Azure DevOps to Azure portal. So these are the three things initially you have to do. Now what I will do, I have my image in my repositories. Now I want to deploy this particular image to the Azure Web App. Now what I will do, I will quickly create a Azure Container Web App. So here I will choose my resource group demo, and here I will choose publish. So if you are deploying a application binaries, you have to choose a code option. But in my case, I have created a Docker image, so I'll choose a container image. As soon as you can choose a container, you have to choose a operating system. It's a Windows based or it's a Linux based. So for mine, in my case, it's a Linux based. So I'm choosing Linux as a operating system here. And reason I will choose here Central India. Now pricing plan I will choose for free. I'll go to container. So here you have to select Azure Container Registries where you have pushed your image, Docker image. So in my case, Azure Container Registries where I have my image. So you can see it's automatically taking the registry, and let's wait for the pull the image or fetch the image value. So it's going to take couple of minutes. Let me refresh it. Again, I'll choose my resource group. The name I will provide demo, some random numbers. This name should be unique across the Azure, and I will choose container. And again, I'll choose my region, Central India. Pricing plan, I'll go for free. Now you can see the image deposited in my app, and this is the tag 859 which I have. Let me go to networking. So I want to access publicly. And if you want to enable application insight for log monitoring or performance, you can enable. But on this particular video, I'm just doing no, and I'm just setting review and create. So it will take couple of minutes to create the Azure Web App. Let me pause the video. Once the deployment will be succeeded, I'll resume back. So now deployment is completed. Let me go to resources. Now let me browse the application. Let's see what it shows us. Okay, let's because in backend still it's not created. It's taking a time. So let's wait to complete this particular operation which is happening. Okay, so it's completed. Let me browse the application now. Let's see what's the error or what's the response we get. So you can see Key Vault name not found. It means it's not even deployed our application. It's deployed our applications. If I'll go back to my repository here, let me go to program.cs file. So you can see here what error we got. Key Vault name not found. Something we have passed here. Secret name not found in environment variable. So we just leave this part. Key Vault name not found. So basically it's going in a if loop. Because why it's going to in if loop? Because we have just created a Azure Web App, but still Azure Web App is not aware from where this particular application needs to fetch the value of Azure Key Vault. So what we can do here now, we have to go to settings tab, because everything the Azure Key Vault secret, manage identities which we have passed here, that particular manage identities have the access to retrieve the secret value, but we have not assigned the access to this Azure Container Registry. So what we have to do here, we have to go to user assigned manage identities. You have to go to identities and user assigned manage identities. You have to add the value. So this is the manage identity which we have created. Let me say click on, and I'll just click on save. Now if I refresh it again, okay, let me restart the Azure Web App, and let me browse it. Still we are getting key vault name not found. So what is the issue now? We have assigned the manage identities, but still this web application is not aware what all, because what all the key environment variables we have passed in our application code. So the very first thing what we have to do here, we have to create an environment variables. If you are using Azure Kubernetes, I will also create a video on AKS part, but let's focus on Azure Web App. So here we will create an environment variable. So you have to create environment variable. The very first name was, let me go to my program.cs file, Key Vault name, and the value of Key Vault, let me go to my Azure portal. So this is the name of our Key Vault which we have to pass as an environment variable. And if I'll go back to my code here, I have created two environment variables, one for Key Vault name and another for the secret value which we have created. So if I'll go back to my Azure Key Vault, if I'll go to secret, this is the name of secret demo. The value of this demo we are going to retrieve. So the value I have passed here, password at the rate 12345, I think so. So this environment variable we have to create here as well in Azure Web App. So let me quickly add one more variable, and let me copy the name here which I have passed secret. And the value is demo. Let me save it, apply it. Now let me restart the application, because if you are doing a local development, if you have set up any environment variable, again you have to close the Visual Studio and you have to restart. Similar concept here also we have to do. So let me restart the application. Now the error was Key Vault name not found. Let's see what the errors we are getting now. Let me quickly close. Okay, let's open this. Let me browse the application. So if you can see in this particular whole video, we have not stored any kind of credentials in our application code. So this is the best practice which we have to follow. So you can see here we are getting an error, fetching secrets. It means it's get access to Key Vault, but still it's not able to fetch the value from the Azure Key Vault. So I would say some kind of partial access this particular Azure Web App has, but it's not has a complete access, so we can retrieve the application secret value. So what we have to do here, we have to tell this application, is this web application, This is the object ID or client ID of this particular user managed identity which has access to retrieve the secrets. So we have to pass again an environment variable, so this particular web app will know, okay, from this ID identity we have already enabled the identities, but we have not specified the environment variable of this environment variable. Oh, sorry, what would I say? The client ID of this particular key vault. So if I'll go back to my key vault overview, so this is the client ID, directory ID we are getting here. Oh, sorry, this is the keyword. I have to go to my manage identities. If I'll go to my manage identity here, let me go to role assignments. It's showing no role assignments. Okay. Access control. Sorry, we have to actually use the client ID of this demo identity, user assigned managed identity in our application. So let me, okay, it's taking time, let me refresh it. So here what we have to do, we have to create an environment variable Azure client ID, and let me put the value here and apply. Now you can see this Docker, because in Azure Container Registries we have enabled the admin user. If you want to authenticate this particular thing also with the help of managed identities, you can also do that. So let me just quickly restart my application. Okay, let me go to overview. So let me browse it now. Earlier we were getting this particular error 400, means access issue, and now we have informed to Azure Web App you have to use this particular client ID which has the access to retrieve the secrets. So you can see that we get the secret value password at the rate 123. Earlier we were getting error this. Now what we did, if I'll go back to my Azure Key Vault, and I'll go to access and control, hopefully. Okay, sorry, we have enabled the access policies here. So you can see demo hyphen users and management have the permission of key permission and secret permission, get list set, and we have not assigned this particular thing to Azure Key Vault. We have enabled the manage identities, but we have used a default credential. If I'll go back to my, you can see default Azure credential. So we have to let Azure Web App to know, okay, you have to use this particular managed identity. For example, if I have multiple managed identities, in that case how it will get to know which identity you have to use. So you have to pass the variable called Azure client ID, and you have to pass the value of Azure managed identities client ID. So it will know, okay, this particular ID has these necessary permissions to retrieve or fetch any kind of values. In similar case, if you are using Azure SQL database or anything, that particular thing, like what all the things you want to know or what all the roles you want to assign on that particular identity, so that identity you have to specify as an environment variable. So same thing we did as part of our Azure Web App. and this particular identity has access to get list uh, the secrets. And here what we were doing, we were just retrieving the secret value what we have created secret key in Azure Key Vault. So that's how basically you can achieve, you can use Azure Key Vault in your application code without hard coding any kind of secrets or credentials in application code. And this is also not recommended as a best practice which you have to use. So there are many ways you can utilize. This is the one way of environment variable which I have used. If you want during the build itself you want to replace the values, you can do that also. So I hope it's clear how you can use manage identities and Azure Key Vault with your application code while we are doing a deployment on Azure Web App. So that's all for today. See you next video. Thank you so much.